Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and finally we're able to show you this Dacia Duster, the new one in the full hybrid variant, for longer than just a couple of minutes because we've had it for the last couple of days and it's been very interesting to drive, and we're going to show you everything about this car, so let's get right into it. The starting price of the Dacia Duster is going to be around 18,950 euros. You have four different versions that you can choose from. You have the Essential, you have the Expression, the Journey and also the Extreme variant. We've only previously tested the Extreme variants and now we have the Journey standing here with the full hybrid system. The cheapest variant you can get with the full hybrid system is going to be the Expression. The Essential you can only get with the Eco G100, which is basically the LPG variant, so with the gas-powered engine as well. This is, however, going to be a little bit more expensive. If you do decide to get the Journey edition, that's going to be around 22,150 euros. And if you want to get the Journey with the full hybrid system, around 27,000 and some-ish money, which is already quite a lot. But is it worth the extra price? Especially when you look at our test vehicle, which is going to be around 28,600 euros. Well, let's find out in this video. Later on, we're also going to do a consumption test, where is the video on the top right corner if you do want to check that out. So when it comes to the previous model of this Dacia Duster, well, everything has basically changed. A whole new design language in here, which just looks very good with the new Dacia logo in here, and very nicely integrated into the whole Y-shaped design of the new Dacia language, which we already have seen on the new Dacia Spring. Up here we have full LED lights, and down here we have halogen lights for your high beams. So not exactly full LED, but your daytime running lights and your normal lights are going to be in LED lights. Down here further a fairly big grille with this, well, very hard plastic style everywhere, which is nice because it's easy to replace and doesn't get too many scratches. Well, if it does get scratches, you can't see it too much because it's also dyed in the color, which is nice. A little bit of air vents or air curtains here on the sides, just to get some more airflows going towards the side, towards the rims. Otherwise, I think it's a very good looking design, especially up here with the bonnet, with this nice little indent and then this little more of a hood, which looks like there's a V8 under there, but there's not too much under there. So let's look at all the engine variants. And look at this, under the hood we even have dampers to hold up the bonnet, which is nice. You can see in here we have the most powerful engine and the only four-cylinder you can get for the new Dacia Duster, which is the full hybrid 140, and that's going to be a 1.6 liter four-cylinder engine, which is also naturally aspirated. That's going to get you combined horsepower of around 141 horsepower and also 230 Newton meters. 94 of those are from the internal combustion engine, and also 49 horsepower are going to be from an electrical motor, which has a 1.2 kilowatts an hour battery, and that's obviously a full hybrid system, so you're going to get fairly far in the city, and even just when you're regenerating, you're going to get fairly high electrical range from that. When it comes to the other variants, you can have four different choices for the engines. You can get the Eco G100, which I already talked about, which is also a three-cylinder, which is a 1 liter three-cylinder actually, a turbo one. You can also get the TCE 130 and also the TCE 130 and the 4x4. All of those are going to be manual gearbox, so a 6-speed manual gearbox, and all of them are going to have three-cylinder engines. The most powerful one is going to be a 1.2 liter, if I'm not mistaken, three-cylinder engine. And all of those are, like I said, turbocharged. Though this one is going to be also the slowest when it comes to the top speed of only 160. Actually, we got 171 on the Autobahn. The other ones are going to go up to 180, and if you get the Eco G, 168. So who does actually the hybrid version speak to? Well, more people who want to drive a little bit more EV in the city and also get their consumption down a little bit. You're going to be saving at around 0.5 liters per 100 kilometers compared to the TCE 130. But the other variants also have a mild hybrid system in there, so the TCE 130 and the 4x4. So you're going to save a little bit of fuel there, so fairly low consumption in general. This one has a WLTP of around 5 liters, supposedly getting you around 1,000 kilometers because we have a fuel tank of 50 liters. When it comes to the dimensions of the car, it's also grown a little bit. So 4 meters and 34 long, 1 meter and 81 wide without the side mirrors extended, and 2 meters and 7 centimeters with the side mirrors extended, and also 1 meter and 65 in height. When it comes to the wheelbase, also 2 meters and 66 centimeters. The car on the side has also changed a lot. For instance, you have the sparkle down here, which is dyed in color, so very non-prone to scratches. Also 20% recyclable this whole material is, so very good. And you also have the choice between 16 up to 18-inch rims. We on here have the Continental, which are going to be 215s in the front and 215s also in the back, with the 18-inch rim, because you get that with the Journey version. When you get the Extreme version, you can standard-wise get 17, but you can also opt for 18-inch rims, which are going to have a little bit of a different design. And also with the Journey variant, you do get keyless entry. So if I go away, for instance, it's going to lock the car up. There you go, and you can see also automatically foldable side mirrors. You can also opt for the city package, which is going to be around 600 euros extra. You get, for instance, side warning assistance on here, which is nice to have. Up here also some roof railings in there, look pretty good. The rear window, which are blacked out, and the color on here is also the Dolomite gray color, 650 euros extra. You have the choice between 7 different colors, and also the door handles up here for the rear, just like we've seen in the new Renault Clio. When it comes to design in the back, well, looking fairly tanky in my opinion. You have a very small rear window, you have a little bit of a roof spoiler in there, and then this fairly long kind of design down there. When it comes to the hybrid variant, you only have 750 kilograms of towing capacity, which is the lowest you can get. The Eco G, so the lowest engine, gets 1,200 kilograms, and the TCE 130 variants are going to get 1.5 tons, so a little bit more, almost, well, exactly double that. In the trunk, we get a very, very spacious trunk with 430 liters up to 1,545 liters, so very, very spacious. And you also have a little bit more storage space down here, but that is just so you can have an even loading space in there. But in general, a very, very, very practical boot. You can see in the back also plenty of leg room and also knee room. I'm 1.80 m tall, so around 5'11", and well, you gotta say leg room is very, very plenty, so a good amount of space. Headroom is also good. It's around, I don't know, how much is that, like 5-6 centimeters of more space that I could theoretically put up there. You also get arm handles, like the oh shit handles in the back, which is nice. Otherwise, hard plastic everywhere you touch, which is obviously expected for this price segment. On the armrest, I would have been nice to have not plastic on there, but a little bit of a nicer fabric. Also in the interior, again, you get this blue stuff on here with this fabric, with the Journey and also the Expression variant. You do not have a center console, but you do have this U-clip system, which is basically this box where you have a couple of different features on there. For instance, you have this light, which you can turn on right up there. Well, you don't really want to put it back here, like you can put it down there. That's not going to do much because you also have a light up on the top. But most of the times you want to use the light, for instance, in the rear, because you don't have a light in the trunk. You can also do this, and then you get a nice little cup holder in here where you can put this Polestar bottle in there. And there you go. You have a little bit of a storage space in there. Otherwise, you get 2 USB-Cs down there where you can charge your phone or whatever you want. And otherwise, a good amount of space in here, and you can definitely keep it in here for a little bit of a long time. So let's now look at the interior, and the interior quality is, well, what you expect from it, just like in the back. You get hard plastic everywhere, basically. You can see here, hard plastic, hard plastic, hard plastic, hard plastic, hard plastic. The only thing I would like to see is down here, maybe not hard plastic, and maybe a little bit of a nicer fabric, just where your arm is resting. That would have been nice. In the Extreme variant, if I'm not mistaken, you do get a nicer feeling of quality in there. With the Expression and also the Journey variant, you get this blue design, which is also on the seats. So you get a fabric on the seats, which is also in blue, as you can see right there. But the Extreme variant gets like this green color, which is, well, it doesn't look as nice in my opinion. I do like the blue a little bit more. Otherwise, a lot of white designs again here in the elements there. The steering wheel, all physical buttons, I like to see that. And the only car that you get the automatic gearbox in here, so a little bit integrated in there, looking fairly robust. Inductive loading down here, 2 USB-Cs and also 12-volt port, storage space. Climate automatic, which you get with the Journey variant. Infotainment display in here, which does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wirelessly integrated, which is always good to see. Amazon Music, you can download a couple of apps in the App Store. Well, not App Store, but in the store, which is the App Store. So theoretically the App Store. Well, you could theoretically download apps. I think because we have no internet connection right now, I don't think we can download anything. But otherwise, you have the Here navigation, which is the navigation that you get with this car. I usually just plug in Apple CarPlay, and then you just use Google Maps from there, which is always nice because you have the live traffic, and just Apple CarPlay is the best for navigation, in my opinion, with Google Maps. Taking a little bit too long now, but you also get fuel stations there. Spotify you even have in there, which is nice. 360-degree camera we theoretically have. It's the multi-view camera, which you get with the city package. So front and rear camera, which is not the highest quality, but nice to see because you also get, for instance, on your side, which is always good for not scraping the wheels, and also has the line, so it shows you theoretically where your wheels are aiming to, which is always great to see. Let's now talk about the surrounding view as well, and let's also drive the car. When you look out the back, well, it is not big at all, that rear window, and the center headrest is also intrusive a little bit. But otherwise, good surrounding view in the front and the side. What I always like to see is that the bonnet is fairly big, and you can actually tell how far it goes forward, so you have a fairly good estimate of how far you can actually take this car. And I also like the bonnet, which is like shaped in a tank kind of. It just looks like a tank because the window is also fairly small in the front. It just looks a little bit tanky in my opinion. And I like that about the car because it's a totally different vibe than the previous Dacia Duster. And that's just like I like to see. On the side we also have this My Perso setting, which we already know from the Renault Captur, for instance. You press it once and you press it again, and then your personal settings are equipped. If we go into the drive assistance in here, it's in German right now, I'm sorry about that, but we can configure them. For instance, it is going to turn that annoying beeping sound off. With the new EU law, 1 kilometer over speed, it's going to do a very loud beep, and in this car it's very, very loud. But you have that disabled. Lane keeping assist, we also have that disabled in there. Just very, well, comfortable to drive with that when you just press it twice and everything is set up the way you want it. Turning radius of this car is also 10.8 meters, which is also fairly low. Good for the city, and in general you're sitting a little bit higher, which is always nice because that's going to allow you to just have a good view over the road, and also a very nice and easy entrance to get into the car, especially for a little bit older people who just want a nice and easy access to the car. When driving the car, we have the full hybrid variant here, and with the automatic gearbox. The automatic gearbox hasn't really done me any hassle. It's been fairly nice and hasn't really, well, been causing any pain in terms of it's slow, it is not very efficient, it doesn't drive well, it takes a long time to get off the starting line. It is a fairly, well, decent gearbox. It's not a CVT, it's just an automatic gearbox that does a good job, and that's what you want it to do. When it comes to the consumption, the car with the full hybrid variant is also fairly good, well, especially good. We currently have, over the last 32 kilometers, an average consumption of 4.8 liters, and 17 kilometers of those were in full hybrid mode, or in full EV, which is always good to see. So half of that distance was completely done without having any emission. The only thing that is not that nice about the car is that the engine works as a generator. If we go into the setting up here, you can see the energy flow. Right now the electrical motor is doing all the work. When you're pushing the car a little bit more, then the internal combustion engine is going to turn on and, well, support the electrical motor, and also use it as a generator to charge the battery up again. We can see down here we have this kind of like battery status, and as soon as that drops below 50%, usually the generator kicks in, so the engine kicks in to get it up again, and that's when it gets fairly loud, especially when you're driving this car on the Autobahn. Like I said, review on the top right corner for our consumption test. At around 120, this car gets fairly noisy because there's a lot of wind noise, tire noise. It just isn't made for higher speeds. That's a cat that yeah, there you go. Saved your day. You have, how many lives do cats have? 14? 7? 7 lives? Almost just killed one of them. And at 120, the car is just fairly loud. I think 120 is like the sweet spot because it's just on the verge of getting unbearable. Well, not unbearable, but just a little bit more, less comfortable. I think that's a fairly good cruising speed for the car. It's not what it's meant for. It's more of a city and country road kind of car that also has the capability of going off-road, especially if you get the 4x4 variant. The TCE 130 is also a fairly, well, efficient car. It only has a WLTP which is 0.5 more, and in the city we've been getting around 4 to 5 liters with this, and I don't think the TCE would be doing too much more with that. I think around 4.5 up to 5.5, that's what I'd say it does in the city. So I don't really think the value that you get with just considering that it has less consumption, that's the only thing you want to consider when getting this car. I don't think that's a consideration you want to make. The only consideration I think you should be making when trying to get the full hybrid is it's the only car that gets the automatic gearbox, because the consumption otherwise is just not worth the extra cost. When it comes to the suspension, it is very comfortable. It does a good job of smoothing the right quality, and not something that I'd say is painful in the back. It's a fairly okay driving suspension. Otherwise, the steering is very light. You definitely notice that when driving at higher speeds, because you can see here, if I do this, there's not much feedback. You really have to go like this to get a feedback from the car. And especially at higher speeds, it doesn't stiffen up the steering at all, and therefore it is going to be fairly wonky when driving at higher speeds because you don't get that much feedback. So at 150, sometimes it doesn't feel as safe to drive this car. With the city package, which you can get for 600 euros, you for instance get the side warning assistant, which is always nice to have, so your blind spot assistance, and also the multi-view camera which you get in there, which is again nice to have. If you do want heated seats and also a heated steering wheel, you'd have to get the winter package, which in the Journey variant is going to cost you 350 euros extra. I think that is a thing that I would like to have, especially in the winter. Heated seats are just going to improve your quality of life quite a bit. But otherwise, especially when you're getting the full hybrid variant in the city, it's just very comfortable, because you can see right now it is very quiet because we're driving in full EV mode. But as soon as you do a little bit of more kick, that engine is going to kick in. It didn't now, but at a fairly high RPM, and therefore regenerate the battery, and it's just very noisy. You definitely notice that if you do check out the consumption test. There, for instance, now it's kicking in to just recharge that battery, and we're cruising at 50, and it just feels like you're an old grandma who doesn't know how to use the clutch properly. So what is my final verdict on the Dacia Duster, especially in the full hybrid variant? Well, I think the full hybrid variant is just a little bit too expensive to well, really consider getting it when it comes to the engine variant. Obviously, it's going to be the most powerful one, but it's just, in my opinion, a little bit of an extra price you don't really need to spend for the car. But it's also the only automatic gearbox that you can get for this car. In general, it is a very average car, but that's exactly what it's trying to be. And an average car for this price, therefore, is a car that speaks to a lot of people. And therefore, I think it's a very good car, which might not sound great, but well, an average car that is cheap basically means it's a good car. So if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.